So you moved the final report of the Functioning of Tynwald Committee in Tynwald this week. It went down like a bit of a lead balloon, didn't it?
It did. I'll admit that. You're quite right that after the Lord Lisvane report, a committee was set up to look into all the bits and pieces, and this was tying it all together, really. The last bit was about scrutiny, and so it was a relatively short report. I personally didn't expect there to be this much discussion, and actually the notes I took for summing up probably were longer than the report itself. But four recommendations, one was amended, the other three were thrown out. That's fine. I mean, what the committee were doing was recommending changes in the way we function as a parliament, recommending some of the very, very, intimate standing orders, which in a way that we thought would make it easier for government to bring in laws and bring in legislation. But Tynwald didn't like them; they threw them out. That's absolutely fine.
And recommendation 1 was really about scrutinising policies, emerging policies. There was an amendment to that.
Yes, what recommendation 1 was about was saying, look, we've got a programme for government. This is a policy that we're going to go down to arrive at outcomes for the Isle of Man. Should we have the select committees actually look into that policy as it's coming to fruition, have a look at the fundamentals behind it? We thought we should. I think some people read things into the report that perhaps weren't there. They read in between the lines rather than the words themselves. And they saw that as a bit dangerous, that theoretically in the future you could get committees set up against the government of the day. You could have an opposition in the shadows. That wasn't our intention, but that was some people's genuine concern. And certainly the Attorney General was asked for his opinion on this, and there was some wording in there that he was quite worried about that could actually achieve that. So the wording was changed, and the recommendation as amended went through.
It was the first time in this administration that members have sat for a third day. It was a long sitting, and this was probably one of the longer debates during that sitting. It was just over, I think, 2 hours. Politicians could be accused of navel-gazing in this instance, talking about themselves for an awful long time about something that potentially doesn't really matter to the outside, people on the outside. They're not necessarily very interested in it.
I think that's always a danger, and I think you're quite right. What politicians and what this government is going to be judged on is outcomes, what we achieve for the people of the Isle of Man. However, we also need to make sure that the process of government is nimble and agile, that we can bring in the laws we need to in the way we need to as quickly as we need to. And I suppose the committee was looking at the way we function. I actually don't think anything's broken. I think Tynwald actually works quite well, but there are times where it seems to go very, very slow. And so what we were looking at with the recommendations is tweaking it, trying to get it working a little bit better. There was a long debate. That's because people take this seriously. They want to get it right. They want to get the process right. They also don't want to get something that's working okay and ruin it, so that it actually works slower. And I think certainly from the Council of Ministers, they felt that by doing the changes that we recommended, it would actually slow down legislation, not let the programme for government meet its targets. And that's why you had quite a few ministers speaking against the recommendations.
Now, this is essentially a work in progress over a 3-year period. You mentioned at the start, it goes back to the Lord Lisvane report on reforming the parliamentary system in the Isle of Man. Is this an end to it now? Have we come to an end, or are we finished with parliamentary reform? Or is there still more that politicians are... This is the final report, but is there still more that's likely to come forward for debate? This
is the end of a chapter. We have finished looking at the Lord Lisvane report, finished looking at all the recommendations, but the book of how Tynwald functions will carry on being written. One of the interesting things when you look back at history is the way Tynwald has constantly evolved. Although people walk into the chamber and it's all wood panelling, it's a very modern parliament. We're constantly changing. And actually one of the interesting things with the debate was the way we've changed even since Lord Lisvane came in. At the time, he was very disparaging of the number of women in Parliament. We ranked 178th on an intra-parliamentary scale for participation of women, below Iran and places like that. Now, we're just behind England. and that's in the space of a very short period of time. We're now 33rd. So I think Parliament is continually changing. The way we elect MLCs, the way we elect the Chief Minister, the way we pass laws is constantly being highly tuned to make it better for the people of the Isle of Man, so that we can respond to their needs in a better way. And whilst the Lord Lisvane recommendations now have been analysed and we've taken the bits we liked, rejected the bits we didn't, I am almost certain that there will be further evolution of the way we function.